the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to order. My name's James Bell, and I'll be serving as chair tonight. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for April 4th. We will hear the cases in the order that they appear on the agenda. The first matter of business is citizens' comments. Any citizen wishing to appear before a regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding any matter posted on the agenda was to sign up no later than 6 p.m. on the day of the meeting. If anyone signed up to speak, they will have 3 minutes to speak. Staff will time each citizen and provide a warning when they have 30 seconds left. Did we have anybody sign up? Okay, good. The next matter of business is the approval of the minutes for the March 7th, 2024 meeting. Do I have a motion?
So motion to approve.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Sanders. Second, Mr. Noble. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next up are the zone cases. We will call up your zone case. The following steps will be followed. The chair will first call the case and will invite the city staff to make their presentations on the case. The board may ask staff questions, but board comments and debate should not occur. Of course, I'm getting off my deal for my new one here. You have to forgive me. The first case we have is zone case number 3499, item 3.1. Staff, would you like to make your presentation?
Good evening. My name is Cassie Bermia. This is case 3499. The applicant is Autry Engineering for Alliance Credit Union. The request is for a zone change from Neighborhood Commercial District to Auto Urban Commercial District. This property is in District 1. It's located north of 34th Street and west of Avenue B. We sent out 68 notifications, have received 7 in favor and 0 in opposition. Here is the map outlining the mail-out notification area, marking the 200-foot boundary and the 400-foot boundary. Here is an aerial view of the subject property. The current zoning of the property is neighborhood commercial. Properties to the north are zone medium density residential district and are developed with residential homes. To the east, south, and west are properties zoned neighborhood commercial district and are developed with a variety of commercial uses. The future land use map designates this area for commercial land uses. Here are photos of the subject property and the surrounding area. Alliance Credit Union plans to convert this property into a used automobile sales lot for vehicles acquired by the company. The existing building and paving on the lot have been demolished, and a new privacy fence has been erected along the west and east sides of the property. Currently, no engineering or architect has been hired to commence the design process for the property. Here's a photo provided by the applicant showing the location of the zoning request. The designated land use for this area on the future land use map is commercial uses. The proposed change to AC aligns with the commercial designation. Such a request would be appropriate given its location along an arterial street. The proposed zone change aligns with the zoning ordinance. The properties are situated along an arterial, and the requested zoning district is suitable given its proximity to the nearby commercial land uses. The proposed zone change is harmonious with the surrounding area, and it will maintain the character of the existing development. The proposed zone change is along 34th Street and Avenue V as per the Master Thoroughfare Plan. 34th Street is classified as a minor arterial, while Avenue V is categorized as a local street. Arterial streets are continuous routes whose function is to serve high volume needs of local traffic and regional traffic. Local streets provide access to smaller destination-oriented areas such as neighborhoods, subdivisions, or local business districts. Staff recommends approval of this request, and we can take any questions at this time.
Anyone have questions for staff at this time? Okay. Thank you, Cassie.
Thank you.
Is the applicant here? Like to come forward? Please state your name, give us your address, and explain your request, please.
Hello, my name's Weston McCowan. I'm with Autry Engineering at 16913 FM 179 in Wolfforth. City staff covered everything pretty well. We're requesting auto urban commercial. They're going to be selling used vehicles. I can answer any questions that you may have.
So basically, going to the used vehicles, what they're doing, I'm assuming, is to sell their repossessed cars?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this proposal? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Seeing none, we will now close the public hearing and open the meeting for discussion.
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Noble, a second by Mr. Hardaway. Discussion? No discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next item of business is zone case number 3500.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Padilla. This is zone case 3500. The applicant is Hugo Reed and Associates Incorporated for Plant AS. Purpose is requesting for a zone change from SF2 to residential estates. We've sent out 171 notifications, receiving 2 in opposition. This property is located east of US 6282 Idalou Road and north of East 4th Street. Here's the notification map. The 2 responses did not give reasoning. Here's an aerial view of the property. The subject property is surrounded by mostly vacant land and residential homes. The current zoning is low-density single-family SF2. The future land use plan designates this property for residential low density. Here are photos of the property and its surroundings. An overhead view of the area. This is a graphic showing the proposed zoning and the site location. Site plan provided by the applicant. The future land use map designates this area for residential low-density land uses. The proposed zone change to residential estates would be in conformance with this designation. The applicant is requesting the zone change for indoor crop production. This use would be appropriate along city limits and in a rural area. The proposed zone change is in conformance with the zoning ordinance and will be appropriate at this proposed location. It's compatible with the surrounding area and will not change the character of the existing development. The proposed rezoning location will be along East 4th Street, East Erskine Street, and North Wood Avenue. East 4th Street is designated as a principal arterial, and East Erskine Street and Wood Avenue as principal arterial is modified. The staff recommends approval of this request. I can take any questions.
Do we have any questions for staff?
Assuming Terry is going to speak on this, I think I'll hold my questions.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? If you'd please come forward, state your name and address, please.
Good evening. I'm Terry Holman with Hugo Reed and Associates. We're at 1601 Avenue N. I think Ashley laid it out very well, and I'll just add a little bit to that this evening. We are representing Plant Ag Systems. We know them as Plant AS. Plant Ag Systems is a worldwide organization based out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They focus on high-tech crop production, state-of-the-art product tracking, and so forth. And I'll ask one of their representatives to step up after I do to give you a little bit more detail on who they are. So my focus is the zoning and what it is we're wanting to accomplish this evening. When I looked at what we're wanting to do, this is basically a large crop greenhouse facility on steroids. It's got all the technology that we could possibly dream. So it's a large employer. It's I think going to be a boon to this part of town. And so basically, when I looked at what type of zoning should we have for this, we are farm, ranch, and orchard. And if you look at the definitions in the UDC, it specifically says indoor crop production or farming, which is us all day long. So for me, the zoning designation and the actual land use was pretty easy. And lo and behold, the only zoning district in the UDC that allows us to do that is residential estates. So my friend Mont McClendon sitting in the back pew back there was gigging me a little bit because I had sworn I thought I would never have an RE zone case, and sure enough, here we are. But it's what we need to do to be able to do this facility. So as I said, the thing we want to do is only allowed in the residential estates. It is a large-scale project, but it's low level. They're all single-story, as you might imagine, greenhouse buildings. I'll walk you through the site plan here. So these light green boxes are each of, and by the way, this is the ultimate build out. This will be built in phases, right? It's 600 some odd acres, as I recall. It stretches a little more than 1.5 miles north-south. At the top, 1 mile east-west, and 0.5 mile east-west on the southern portion. So the scale of the project, the land area is large, but it is basically large, low-level greenhouses, in essence. The darker green little boxes you see on here, they are what we call pack houses. That's where they take the product out of the greenhouse next to it, and that's where they do their processing. That's where they do their tracking and all of the technical stuff that Troy can explain here in a moment. We have a roadway network that will have interior to the project. Obviously, there will be employee parking and all of those types of things that this schematic site plan doesn't really drill into quite yet. At the south end, the big blue box is what effectively will be a reshaped Playa Lake. So that we're kind of giving ourselves a default built-in buffer zone on the south just because we have a Playa Lake down there. Certainly, we have to follow all of the engineering requirements with respect to Playa Lake reclamation. The other smaller blue boxes that you see sort of peppered around this project, those are other water capture facilities. So as you can imagine, we want to get every single raindrop we can and utilize it for the crop production inside these buildings, okay? A little bit of a sort of an idea of what this is. We do a lot of water capture. We have vehicle routing inside the project. The trucking, that if someone were to ask, this is not a continual flow of trucks all day long. You know, it's maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 trucks a day at the most, okay? Because we're talking plants. We're not talking, faster production items. As part of the project, we will be upgrading those thoroughfare roadways that Ms. Padilla had mentioned. In fact, one of the items that we'll be doing is likely upgrading the roadway even off property connecting over to the Idalou Highway. So this is a large-scale project, a lot going on. It'll be a long-term construction, but at the end of the day, I think we can honestly tell you that it will be relatively low impact. Big land area, big buildings, but not a lot of noise, not a lot of height in the buildings. And so we think actually for this, the RE zoning tends to make sense, right? And it has to because it's the only choice we have. I did receive the 2 letters of opposition that were mentioned to you. One of them, neither letter stated the reasons. One of them did not provide a phone number or an email. I looked the phone number up, thought it was the right person, but all I got was a busy signal, so I just could not get connected to Ms. Morales. The other one was from an Alice Martinez. I did call her. She called me right back, and we had a nice discussion. She was worried about property taxes, and she was worried about flooding. And so I explained to her that it was my opinion that I wasn't sure how our property would affect her property taxes one way or the other, right? Because she has a house and we have something that's not a house right next to her. But she was still concerned, I think. She was worried about flooding, and I mentioned to her that, we have to follow all of the engineering rules, right, when we're working on a project, and we have to demonstrate to city engineering staff that we're not causing adverse flooding impacts. And, I'm not sure I really changed her mind, but I did have a chance to visit with her. She did tell me that she would not be available this evening, so she won't be able to speak on behalf of herself. But I felt like I've done the best I could with the opposition letters that we had. And I think it's a great project. A lot of employment opportunity for this side of town. And so I'd be happy to answer any. Oh, before I do that, I would like to introduce Troy Bathman. Troy is with Plant Ag Systems, and I would ask him to maybe kind of give you a quick overview of what their company is about and what their vision for this project is. Thank you. And then I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Holman. If you could please state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, sir. Troy Bathman with Plant Ag. My address is 872 St. James Court, Fairview, Texas. Good evening, and appreciate the opportunity to present to you. Plant Ag Services, Systems, and Technology was formed for the sole purpose of developing and locating these types of facilities closer to populations and shortening the time frame from production of produce to delivery, providing better quality produce and better details for the consumer, and I'll get into that on the technology side, where the consumer can see how the product was grown from the original germination through plant growth, through harvesting, and then to the shelf. We'll actually have technology that tracks that, provides that to the consumer, and provides them with the background of what they're actually buying and the quality. The systems that we use are a hydroponic system out of the Netherlands, where they've been doing this for years. I'm not sure if you've been over to that area, but you see them on every corner. The produce there is high quality. It's grown. We can get a crop through our facility probably 5 to 6 times a year versus outdoor facilities, land use, probably 1 or 2 crops a year. The technology that we have will be mined and provided through blockchain, not only to the consumer, but also to the retailer, so they can track the needs of the consumer, and the consumer can track how that produce was grown and delivered to them. So our whole mission is to provide quality produce, to provide a footprint that is shorter than where we're getting produce now from West Coast or from Mexico, and to do it locally and provide it to those retail chains locally in a shorter fashion. Some of the comments that Terry made on water harvesting, our greenhouses have gutters, so they collect almost 100% of the water on rainfall. It's piped into one of our holding tanks and then put back into the growth process through water purification. And so we have a cycle that we're recovering water constantly. And again, sustainability is one of our main goals in that regard. Any questions on that I can answer for anyone?
Everyone, how far will this produce go from Lubbock?
So the locations that we identify are typically 700 miles maximum in that location. So it's close by. It's not California. And the other thing is the customer can see if it sat in the DC, the distribution centers, or if it was immediately put on the shelves. So it's more of the technology is more of a convenience and opportunity for the consumer to see what they're getting and the quality of the product they're getting.
How many people will this employ?
Each of the facilities, I think a total of 700 to 900 employees at full build out.
That's pretty good. What type of produce do y'all?
Leafy greens, the first phase will be leafy greens, all types of lettuce, different types of lettuce, and then vine produce, which would be types of tomatoes and so forth. Right now, those are the 2 planned. We're working on strawberries. They don't have that completely down over in Holland yet, but we're working with them to devise the greenhouse and come up with a plan and the controlled environment for it.
Thank
Do
you.
you know how the employees will access? I missed that in Terry's.
Okay, so the center corridor and where the drives are between the greenhouses, they'll be parking along that corridor next to the pack house, if you can see the pack house areas. and they will access either from 4th Street or Woods Lane or Erskine, one of those 3 routes.
Thanks.
Do we have any more questions? Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this proposal? Okay, seeing none, we'll go on. Anyone here to speak in opposition? Okay, we'll now close the public hearing and open the meeting up for discussion. Does anyone have any further questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve zone case 3500.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Hardaway, second by Jordan. Mr. Wheatley? Okay, do we have any discussion we'd like to make?
It's a good project.
No discussion.
No discussion. Okay, all of those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay. Oh,
No.
not bad.
No.
I was in favor.
Everybody was,
Yeah.
okay. Motion passes 8-0.
That was in favor, Karen.
Next, we'll have zone case number 3.3, or item 3.3, zone case 0769B.
Good evening. My name is Shane Spencer, and this is zone case 769-B. The applicant is 3R&P Holdings LLC, and the request is to rezone from low-density single-family district SF2 to heavy commercial district HC. The subject property is located south of 82nd Street, west of Avenue P. We have sent 54 notifications and received back 2 now in opposition. Here is the notification map. And here's the aerial map. The properties to the north are single-family homes and apartments. Commercial properties to the east and west, and vacant property and electrical substation is to the south. The zoning map right here shows properties owned high-density residential to the north, single-family district SF2 also to the north as well as to the east and south. To the west is properties owned neighborhood commercial district in C. And the future land use plan designates this property for commercial land uses. Here are photos of the subject and surrounding property. And here's a graphic provided by the applicant. The future land use map designates this area for commercial land uses, and this request does conform to this designation and would be appropriate along a major thoroughfare. The proposed zone changes in conformance to the zoning ordinance, and the property is located along that major thoroughfare and is appropriate adjacent to the nearby land uses. And the proposed zone changes compatible with the surrounding area would not change the character of the existing development. It is located along 82nd Street, which is designated as a principal arterial by the Master Thoroughfare Plan. Staff recommends approval of this request, and I can take any questions at this time.
Do we have any questions for staff at this time? Okay, thank you very much, Shane. Is the applicant or his or her representative here would like to come forward? Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Rohit Mittal, ROHIT MITTAL. I'm an authorized representative and attorney for 3R&P Holdings, address 2429 34th Street, Lubbock, Texas 79411. We're visualizing to build sort of Class A contractor shops on this building, on this tract of land. We acquired this a couple months ago, maybe a year ago at this point now. We were shocked it was actually residential R2. The brokers, even LCAD, they all thought it was already commercial industrial zoned because it was right in front of, it was right on 82nd Street and also right next to the substation for LP&L. So no one could really imagine houses being built there. We're kind of visualizing where on the frontage of 82nd Street, it would look like a shopping center. And then the rear of it, so on the end of the LP&L substation, it would have the garages for the contractors. So very, very low intensity. We're not really adding much, just we're looking for contractor shops, and the only one that would fit in was HC. So I'm open to any questions.
Do we have any questions for the applicant? No? Thank you very much. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this proposal? Okay, thank you. Anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, we will now close the public hearing and open the meeting up for discussion. Does anyone have any further questions? I'd entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Sawyer and a second by Mr. Wheatley. Do we have any further discussion? No? Okay. All of those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries 8-0. 8-0, I guess, if you want to be that. Yeah, we'll do it that way.
Nothing.
Next we have item 3.4, zone case 3501.
This is zone case 3501. The applicant is VIA Real Estate LLC for the estate of Charles E. Prater. Requesting for a zone change from SF2 to HC. We've sent out 20 notifications, receiving 0 in favor and 0 in opposition. This property is located east of University Avenue and north of 114th Street. Here's an aerial view of the property. To the west and north is an apartment complex, and to the east and south is vacant land. The current zoning is low-density, single-family SF2. The future land use plan designates this property for commercial. Here are photos of the property and its surroundings. It's an overhead view of the area. The site plan provided by the applicant. The future land use map designates this area for commercial land uses. The proposed zone change is compatible with this designation. This request would be appropriate next to adjacent land uses to the west, near a retail node, and fronting along arterial streets. The proposed zone change is in conformance with the zoning ordinance and will be appropriate at this proposed location. It's compatible with the surrounding area and will not change the character of the existing development. The proposed rezoning location will be along University Avenue and 114th Street. University Avenue is designated as a principal arterial and 114th Street as a minor arterial. And staff recommends approval, and I can take any questions.
Thank you, Ashley. Do we have any questions for staff? Okay, thank you. Is the applicant or his or her representative here? Please state your name and address for the record.
JT Shelton, I'm the Vice President of VIA Real Estate LLC, address 13105 Dover Avenue, Lubbock, Texas 79424. Think Steve staff covered everything. They've been great to work with, and I'm available to take any questions if you have questions.
Okay. Anyone have questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this request? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve zone case 3501.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Wheatley, second by Mr. Sawyer. All of those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries 8-0. Next is item 3.5, zone case 3502.
Hello, Board. I'm Greg Hernandez with the Planning Department, and this is Zone Case 3502. The applicant is Hub City Main Street Investment LLC, requesting to rezone from low-density single-family district to heavy commercial district. The property is located west of Norwick Avenue and north of 66th Street. 9 letters were sent out and received 4 back in favor Hey, Greg. Oh, there you go. I was gonna say, if you could- Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a notification map showing the four in favor. Here's the aerial view of the property. To the north are commercial properties and vacant land. To the east is developed with an event center. The properties to the south are currently vacant land, and to the west is commercial property. The current land use map shows the property to the east and west zone low-density single-family districts, to the south zone neighborhood commercial district, and to the north heavy commercial and low-density single-family. The future land use map designates this property for commercial uses. Here's a picture of the subject's property, as well as views to the south, east, and west. Due to a complaint received, here's a picture taken on April 2nd. So this was taken after showing the equipment on site already. The future land use map designates this property for commercial land use. The proposed zone change to HC would be in conformance with the future land use plan and the comprehensive plan principles. The proposed zone change is in conformance with the zoning ordinance and appropriate near existing commercial zoning. The subject property, while next to SF2 zoning, is already developed as commercial property and is next to vacant and non-residential land uses. The proposed zone change to heavy commercial district will not change the surrounding area or the character of the existing development. Sorry. The location is along 66th Street, which is designated as a collector street by the Master Thoroughfare Plan 2018. And staff recommends approval of this request, and I can take any questions at this time.
Hey, Greg, what was the basis of the complaint?
We received a complaint I was informed that a complaint was made that they were already operating. Again, so I went out to take pictures just to show that they already had the equipment there. That's about that, about the basis of that.
Do we have any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you very much, Greg.
Thank you.
Is the applicant or his or her representative here? Please state your name and address for the records, Mr. McClendon.
Mont McClendon. I'm with McDougall Companies, including Hub City Main Street. We're at 1500 Broadway. It is, I want to tell you why it's appropriate that I made fun of Terry Holman on the RE case, because it's relevant to this case, actually. Two reasons. One, it's always appropriate to give Terry Holman a hard time if you can. But the context of and Terry's exact words were, no one is ever going to bring an RE case. The context of that conversation during the UDC discussion was, what do we do with T land that has been brought in by annexation and given a transitional zoning under the UDC? And the first idea was to make it RE, which was the lowest intensity use on the scale. The discussion was that almost everything that's brought in under annexation almost immediately gets rezoned to the more useful R1 or R2. And so why don't we go ahead and put a default setting of R1 or R2, what is now SF2, on transitional land as part of the UDC? The irony is that this is the third case you'll hear tonight, which I suspect all three parcels of the last two cases in this one were all transitional zoned properties that became SF2 under the UDC, but had existing commercial uses or existing commercial locations for appropriateness. My records and the records that I can find in LCAD says that this building, the building in this location has been there since the 60s in commercial use, since the 60s. By making transition into SF2, we're not hearing a bunch of cases about land that's going to be used as SF2 as part of annexation. But you are going to hear some of the sort of outlier cases where that land was not ever going to be residential. You can see from the maps that were given, it has not ever been residential. I think I'm 600 plus feet away from the nearest residential. Everything around me is commercial. You know, the irony, not the irony, but it's interesting that under the UDC, the appropriate adjacencies for HC, which is what I'm next to, is more HC in this sort of thing. The appropriate adjacencies for SF2 is none of the things that's in this area. So simply asking to continue to use the land and the parcel in the same way that it's been used since the 60s. And happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Anyone questions for the applicant? Thank you, Mr. McClendon. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this request? Okay, anyone here to speak in opposition? Y'all please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Joe Kelly with the American Legion, 6628 West 66th. I'm really not opposed or for it. My question is, when we got the notification, we called the office and asked how it would affect our property. Nobody could answer. They said that we would have to come here to find out. Well, listening to these guys, I still haven't found out. How's it going to affect the property of the American Legion?
Victor?
Well, as Mr. McClendon had pointed out earlier, technically this land had been used in a commercial aspect since prior to even being annexed back in 1999. I don't believe it really will have much of an effect to rezone it.
Okay, that's why I'm here, to find out.
So basically existing use before that did, so it continues as long as it was,
Yeah.
is it before in the continual operation?
Or at least a similar use to where it was prior to annexation.
What kind of fencing requirements or setbacks or any of that is going to be required around it?
At current, it'll be basically what had been prior to annexation or prior to prior to UDC regulations, in other words.
Yeah, so he'll know that it's not going to change.
Correct.
It's not going to require fences, landscaping, any kind.
Basically, with a new construction might bring about that, or at least new construction. I believe it's beyond 50% of the current appraised value of the property would require such changes, but those buildings out there as is, no.
Okay, thank you. Does that help answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Could you please state your name and address as well?
Certainly. I'm Bill Morgan of 6810 Rochester Avenue. I'm the president of the Papalote Estates HOA, representing 52 homeowners. And we object to this change on two grounds. One, traffic on 66th Street is kind of weird. If you leave any place there headed east, when you get to Marcia Sharp, you're putting your life in your hands because the exit ramp from Marcia Sharp onto the frontage road terminates right nearly at the entrance to 66th Street. And they come screaming over that overpass every day. If you go the other way, and heavy commercial tends to attract commercial vehicles, heavier vehicles, bigger trailers. If you leave going west, you go around a slight curve facing the frontage road, and then you're taking your life in your hands again because they come screaming off the ramp, headed to Milwaukee. And I can tell you from personal experience, it's very difficult to get on the road with a truck and a trailer right there. You may have to wait 15 minutes before you can ever get a clear shot across there. There's also the fact if this goes to heavy commercial, Oak Ridge Elementary is not far away. And that has heavy traffic twice a day. But I think what we may be more affected by is we're concerned about the door rezoning might open to other concerns. Since under heavy commercial, you can have a bar, a package store, a smoke shop, a manufactured home storage yard, several things that I think are just entirely inconsistent with that particular area. So to that end, that's what we object to. We object to the opening of it. And I'm going to talk about here and now. I don't care about transitional and all the questions about nomenclature and the yah-yah back and forth. Right here and now, it's zoned SF2, and they're asking to change it to heavy commercial. We believe it should remain exactly as it is. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Gary Bennett, 6613 Rochester Avenue, live in Papalote Estates. Bill, I think, did a great job of explaining some of our concerns. One of the major concerns that I have is we have fire department building right there, fire station immediately there, elementary school, all of the other industry that's up and down the street, including For Golf, and I guess For Golf is in the same zoning. Is that correct, or am I? In heavy commercial, okay.
Yes. Fork
Right.
office, heavy commercial.
And we've had numerous complaints because Forgoff makes so much racket. Who would have ever dreamed a golf course would make a lot of racket? Well, on weekends, that's an entertainment center. You know, the headbanger music is so loud, you can't sleep till 2 o'clock at night. And I've heard that from lots of my neighbors. And I live almost as close as you can get in a residential area to that. But my main safety concern is the fact that their gate is right up on their, not exactly on their property line, but you don't have enough setback with that gate to get trucks and trailers or pickups and trailers off the property and out of the street. And just recently, we've had a multi-fatality accident at the end of that street due to traffic concerns. Not 2 weeks ago did we have other vehicles that had commercial vehicles that made it almost impossible to get out the western end of that street because we've got access road on the Marcia Sharp Freeway there that does not really have enough time for the people to slow down before you get to the western end of 66th Street and make that turn. So most of our concerns are either quality of life in the area of the existing people, and I'm relatively new to the area. I've only been there since 1977. So I've watched this whole thing develop. I'm wondering if that piece of property has any requirement. I think there is a hazardous waste site on the back of one of those two buildings over there. I know back before it was in the city, it was discussed several times. I don't know whether that would have any bearing on whether or not any of these activities should go on, but I know there's a drainage ditch that runs right there by that. So what would happen in, what's the name of the park real close there? McAllister? Yeah, McAllister Park. That's where the water drains to. So I don't know about those concerns, but the safety hazards, I really think we need to consider at least limiting any ability in the future for future tenants. I don't know how long these people have owned it, but I know of at least 5 different people that have been in that building since the Scarboroughs once had it for their shop, for their nursery there. So it has had a lot of turnover recently, and they have kept the building up extremely nice, but it's been everything from stonemasons. And the biggest concern I have really is the access onto that to get onto the property with a trailer and equipment on that trailer. Because we just don't have room for people to be able to travel, to work and to home on 66th Street there with any additional truck trailer parking on the road. And I don't see any other place for them to be. There's a chain link fence across the property. So you'd have to wait until that was opened up. And just like the lumberyard has right there, they have trucks that start lining up on Sunday morning. I see lots of lumber that's parked on their property, and luckily they moved their fence back and made accommodation for that. You might want to consider doing that. And that's all I've got to say, except for thank y'all for taking the time to be on this committee.
Thank you for coming to speak. Yes, ma'am. If you'll please state your name and address for the record.
Ida Blesson, 7206 78th Street. I live in Papalote South, and one of my concerns is, they've done the engineering for Upland to be expanded, and then they tabled it. But when that starts back up, Papalote South has 119 homes, and that's just the south. There's also northeast and the original. So that's over 156 houses that will have to empty out to 66th Street or onto 82nd Street in the middle of no light. I mean, there's no light there, and it's pretty busy and it's pretty fast on 82nd. So we try not to ever go out 82nd unless we are going west, because you cannot cross over without being in harm's way. So when we do have that upland expansion, there's only those two exits. 66th Street is pretty busy as it is. It's not that wide. What Mr. Bennett said about the traffic that makes that curve there, because they come off the Marcia Sharp and then they don't have much time and they make that quick turn, is pretty tough. Also, this property, what I've seen of it all along is it has a fence right at the street. In front of it, it has two buildings. I rarely, if ever, have seen even a vehicle there. So I'm not sure how much heavy equipment or rental equipment you can put on it on the lot, and people with their trailers or whatever they're pulling to pick up, or if they're pulling a trailer out of there, how much room they have on that lot in front of those two buildings that are on this spot, how they can get turned around to even get out. So those are some concerns. There is like Mr. Bennett said, the fire station is just down the road, I don't know, quarter mile or less. You can see it from there. And then there's a school that empties out from that nearby on 266. So that's where we're at.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to wish to speak in opposition? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Anybody have any other questions? If not, I'd like to call for a motion.
I've got a question, James.
Yes, sir.
Can we go back to that picture of the current use from the...
April 2nd?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is what's going on there today. They're renting equipment.
That's what they're applying for the zone change for, to operate as an equipment rental.
Okay.
So you've got that. I know that they mentioned too about the lumberyard across that. It's zoned industrial, correct?
That I'm not sure.
I was thinking, looking at the map.
I believe that, yeah, on that corner there.
It's kind of a hodgepodge right in there now.
And I have a question for the proponent. Mont, did you say that this is the intended use right here, or are there plans to alter the use?
It's the same sort of uses since the 60s. I mean, it's been outdoor, it's indoor storage, outdoor storage, and stack yard and that sort of thing. So I'm not changing the zoning to change the use. I'm changing the zoning to fit the use that's been there for longer than I've been alive.
Well, I'm asking about the equipment rental. Is that?
It's a tenant in this space, yeah.
That's what you're going to get?
Yeah, that's what
you're going to continue doing there?
Yeah.
There's no plans to demo and
no,
add on to something or make something different?
Nothing more intense, either as far as noise or traffic.
Okay.
So, Victor, to kind of go back, this is kind of one that we came back to go to the old. Since it was transitional before, that was one where you could keep the current zoning before, just because when the UDC came and we did away with transitional is when it moved to the SF2, correct?
Correct,
Following
yeah.
that, right? Okay.
Yeah, in other words, previous to October 2023.
Right, it was the transitional.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's where you get back to had the, I guess you're going to say the grandfather or what it was, as long as it was the same or similar type.
Essentially, and I mean, exactly, these structures are still, in existence, so exactly that. I mean, basically, you'd asked about fences earlier. Yes, fences are basically what's there existing is, I mean, it's non-conforming, but it's there.
So I guess in a way, just kind of to clarify for myself, this is one of the ones that goes back in the previous zoning stuff, transitional. Since there's not transitional, everything just fell into that, like Mott was saying, correct?
SF2, correct. I mean, kind of a brief history on that. Back in December of 2017, if I remember correctly, whenever the R1A district was adopted, previous to that, any new construction within the transition district was permitted to, I guess, be basically R1 by right in construction. So as Mr. McClendon indicated, you could actually build new houses without getting a zone change from that transition district. After December of 2017, you could move to the R1A district, which is the same, just altered setbacks. And then 2023, we basically kind of essentially carried on that same sentiment with just actually clarifying it as an actual residential district rather than a transition district.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any other questions in here before we call a motion?
Just a comment to Ms. Blessing's concerns about access on Upland. As of right now, there's no plan to cut off access from your neighborhood to get to Upland while in construction, so you'll maintain access.
If we don't have any other discussions, I'd like to call a motion for a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Gloina and a second by Mr. Sawyer. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 7-1. Next up will be zone case item 3.6, zone case 3181-C.
Hello, Board. I'm Victoria Llewellyn, and this is Zone Case 3181C. The applicant is Delta Land Surveying and Engineering for Juan Miguel Hernandez, requesting a zone change from Office District to Neighborhood Commercial District. The subject property is located south of Kemper Street and west of North Frankfurt Avenue. We sent out 81 letters, receiving 1 back in favor. Here's the mail-out map for the 1 in favor. Here's the aerial view. The property to the north and south are vacant, undeveloped lands. The properties to the east and west are developed with single-family homes, duplexes, and undeveloped vacant land. The current zoning is office. The property to the north is zoned office. The properties to the east and west are zoned low-density single-family district and medium-density residential district. The southern property is zoned neighborhood commercial district. The future land use map designates this for residential low-density uses. Here are some photos of the property and its surroundings. This is a survey provided by the applicant of the extents of the request. This request moderately conforms to the principles of the future land use map. This request is in conformance with the zoning ordinance. The proposed zone change is compatible with the surrounding area and will not change the character of the existing development. Located south of Kemper Street and west of North Frankfurt Avenue, the 2018 Master Thoroughfare Plan designates them as a local street and principal arterial. The intended use will be appropriate at this location. Staff recommends approval of this request, and I can take any questions at this time.
Could you go back to the current zoning map?
Sure.
So really, it's just going to basically make that office conform with the rest of the strips?
Yes, that's
basically.
correct. It's
Okay.
going to go to neighborhood commercial like the
Right.
south. Yeah, of
Okay, thank you.
course.
Thank you. Is the applicant or his or her representative here? Thank you. If you'll please state your name and address for the record.
Robert Kennedy with Delta Land Surveying, 1310 Jarvis Street.
Anything you'd like to add to it?
If you have any questions?
Okay. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this proposal? Okay, anybody in opposition? Okay, we'll now close the public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I'd like to call for a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Mr. Sanders, second by Mr. Hardaway. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 8-0. That being the last action, we will close the meeting. 6:55.